With all due respect, Miss Monroe, we've heard this same promise from 3 other companies this month. Scarlett Monroe felt cold sweat trickle down the back of her neck. The Midas Corporation conference room seemed to have shrunk in the last 40 minutes. 5 executives stared at her with expressions ranging from skepticism to pure boredom. The CEO, a 60-year-old man named Richard Midas, drummed his fingers on the mahogany table with an irritating rhythm that pierced her nerves. This was the contract, the impossible one, the one that 3 commercial managers before her had failed to close. Midas Corporation was worth $15 million, and if she could bring them to Berkshire Industries, it would be the company's biggest achievement in 5 years. And she was losing. Mr. Midas, Scarlett straightened her shoulders, her voice coming out firmer than she felt. You're absolutely right. Promises are cheap, so I won't make any. Silence. Richard's eyebrows rose slightly. I'll do better than that. She clicked to the next slide, revealing real numbers, detailed graphs. These are the companies that Berkshire Industries has transformed in the last 3 years. Morrison Tech doubled its profit in 18 months. Coldwell Pharmaceuticals tripled its market presence. And you know what they all have in common? Enlighten me, Richard murmured, but there was a spark of interest in his eyes now. They were exactly where Midas Corporation is now. Stuck. Profitable, yes, but stagnant. With untapped potential. Scarlett walked to the window, gesturing at the Chicago skyline. You built an empire from scratch. But in the last 5 years, your growth has been only 8%. Meanwhile, your competitors have grown 40%. Richard's jaw tightened. She'd hit the right nerve. The difference isn't talent, Mr. Midas. It's strategy. And I didn't come here to sell hope. Scarlett returned to the table, planting both hands on the surface, looking directly into his eyes. I came to offer a partnership that will shatter this glass ceiling that's been keeping Midas Corporation in the same position for half a decade. Not in 5 years, in 18 months. The silence in the room was deafening. Richard Midas leaned back, interlacing his fingers. A slow smile formed on his lips. Show me the numbers. 3 hours later, Scarlett was in the back of a taxi, clutching a signed contract against her chest like it was made of gold. Her hands were shaking. She'd done it. Actually done it. When she reached her tiny Brooklyn apartment, she threw her purse on the worn sofa and called her best friend. Lily! I closed it! I closed Midas! Lily's celebratory screams nearly pierced her eardrum. Scarlett opened the only bottle of cheap champagne she'd saved for a special occasion, poured it into a coffee mug because she didn't have wine glasses, and toasted alone in her 1-bedroom apartment that barely fit a bed and a sofa. Commercial manager, she thought, grinning like an idiot. Finally, Harold Berkshire's call came the next morning. You did the impossible, Miss Monroe. Prepare for your promotion, and for a formal dinner with the family. It's tradition. She had danced around the room, sang in the shower, imagined the bonus that would finally pull her out of debt. If only she'd known that dinner would be the beginning of something much bigger and much more complicated than any business contract. 3 days later. Why did Margaret say, "Be careful" like that? As if she were sending me into a war zone? Lily was sitting on Scarlett's bed, surrounded by 4 rejected dresses. Because the Berkshires are that family, Scar. Old money. Surnames on buildings, the kind of people who have portraits of ancestors who sailed on the Mayflower. That's ridiculous. It's just a dinner. A dinner at Le Ciel Bleu. Do you know how much a plate costs there? Lily held up her phone. Look, it says here that Grayson Berkshire, the heir, has never been photographed smiling. Not once. They call him Manhattan's Ice Prince. Scarlett rolled her eyes, adjusting the navy blue dress she'd bought. Elegant, professional, memorable. Or so the saleswoman had promised. I'm not going there to impress the arrogant heir. I'm going to receive my promotion, thank them politely, and leave. Perfect plan, she thought. 3 hours later, standing at the entrance of Le Ciel Bleu, realizing that every person in the private dining room had turned to look at her, Scarlett Monroe understood that there was no plan in the world that could have prepared her for this moment. Harold Berkshire smiled warmly and waved. But it was the man beside him who stole all the air from her lungs. Grayson Berkshire. Black suit, broad shoulders, chiseled jaw, and storm-colored eyes that pierced through her with an intensity that made her heart race. And for the first time, according to what the magazines had meticulously documented, Grayson Berkshire was smiling, looking directly at her. Beside him, a stunning blonde woman in a red dress froze with her wine glass mid-air. And at the head of the table, an elegant lady with silver hair watched Scarlett with a look that promised storms. Scarlett's stomach sank. Complicated, Margaret had said. She had no idea. "Miss Monroe, welcome, welcome." Harold Berkshire's voice boomed across the private dining room as he stood, arms extended. Scarlett forced her legs to move, each step in her heels feeling like walking through quicksand. She was acutely aware of every eye in the room tracking her movement. "Mr. Berkshire, thank you for the invitation." She shook his hand, grateful her voice didn't shake. "Nonsense. After landing Midas, this is the least we could do." Harold gestured broadly. "Allow me to introduce my family. My wife, Eleanor Berkshire." The silver-haired woman at the head of the table offered a smile that didn't reach her ice-blue eyes. "Miss Monroe, how quaint." The way she said quaint made it sound like an insult wrapped in silk. "My son, Grayson. He's been eager to meet the woman who accomplished what our last 3 managers couldn't." Grayson extended his hand. When Scarlett took it, she felt an electric shock run up her arm. His hand was warm, firm, and he held on just a second longer than necessary. "Miss Monroe." His voice was deep, smooth as aged whiskey. "Impressive work." "Thank you, Mr. Berkshire." "Grayson, please." That smile again. The one that shouldn't exist according to every business magazine in America. "And this," Eleanor's voice cut through the moment like a knife, "is Victoria Ashford. She and Grayson have known each other since childhood." The blonde in the red dress stood gracefully, extending a perfectly manicured hand. "How lovely to meet you, Miss Monroe, was it?" Her tone suggested she'd already forgotten the name. What an adorable little dress. Scarlett recognized a barb when she heard one. "Thank you. I thought professional was appropriate." "Oh, absolutely. So sensible." Victoria's laugh tinkled like breaking glass. "Though perhaps a bit off the rack? I could give you my stylist's number if you'd like." "Victoria, darling, not everyone can afford Valentino," Eleanor added with a sympathetic smile that felt anything but sympathetic. Harold cleared his throat awkwardly. "Shall we sit? I've ordered their finest." "So, Miss Monroe," Eleanor interrupted as they settled into their seats, placing Scarlett notably at the far end of the table, away from Grayson. "Tell us about yourself. Where did you study?" "City College. I worked full-time while getting my degree." "City College." Eleanor repeated it as if tasting something unpleasant. "How industrious. Victoria graduated from Yale, didn't you, dear?" "Summa cum laude." Victoria smiled, placing her hand on Grayson's arm. A claim. A warning. Scarlett noticed Grayson subtly shift away. "And your family?" Eleanor continued her interrogation. "What business are they in?" "My father was a mechanic. My mother was a nurse. They both passed away 5 years ago." A moment of silence. Scarlett thought she saw something flicker in Grayson's eyes, sympathy. But Eleanor pressed on. "How tragic. So you're self-made then?" The way she said it made it sound like a character flaw. "I prefer to think of it as determined." "Determination!" Harold jumped in enthusiastically, clearly trying to ease the tension. "That's exactly what landed Midas. Scarlett here didn't just present numbers. She understood their pain points, Harold, darling, business talk at dinner is so gauche." Eleanor sipped her wine. "I'm sure Miss Monroe would prefer to discuss other things. Do you have hobbies? I assume shopping at outlet malls counts." Victoria's giggle was perfectly timed. Scarlett felt her cheeks burn. She'd faced boardrooms full of skeptical executives, closed impossible deals, fought her way up from nothing. But this was a different kind of warfare, one she hadn't been trained for. "Mother." Grayson's voice was quiet but sharp. "That's enough." Eleanor's eyes widened innocently. "Whatever do you mean, darling? I'm simply getting to know our new employee. After all, as commercial manager, she'll be representing the Berkshire name. We must ensure she fits." The unspoken message was clear. You don't. "She closed a $15 million deal," Grayson said, his jaw tight. "I'd say she fits perfectly." "Business acumen and social graces are entirely different matters," Victoria purred, leaning closer to Grayson. "Some people are simply born knowing how to navigate our world. Others—" She looked pointedly at Scarlett's dress. "Well, they try their best." The waiter arrived with the first course, some tiny artistic arrangement that probably cost more than Scarlett's monthly rent. "Oh my," Victoria examined her plate with exaggerated concern. "Miss Monroe, you do know which fork to use, don't you? It can be so confusing when you're not accustomed to fine dining." Scarlett picked up the correct fork with deliberate precision. "I manage." "Of course you do. How brave." Victoria's smile was poison wrapped in sugar. "Grayson, darling, remember that charity gala next week? The one where we're announcing, well?" She glanced at Eleanor meaningfully. Eleanor straightened, a cat spotting prey. "Yes, we've been meaning to discuss that. Victoria's family and ours have been planning something very special. Haven't we, son?" Grayson's knuckles whitened around his fork. Scarlett felt like she was watching a train wreck in slow motion. And somehow, she was standing on the tracks. "The announcement will be made at the Palmer Foundation Gala," Eleanor continued, her voice dripping with satisfaction. "It's been in the works for months, a merger of two great families." Scarlett felt her stomach twist. She shouldn't care. This was just a business dinner. Grayson Berkshire was just her employer's son. The fact that his eyes kept finding hers across the table meant nothing. So why did it feel like the room was closing in? "Mother," Grayson started, but Victoria cut him off. "Don't be modest, darling." She squeezed his arm possessively. "It's practically official. Our families have been intertwined for generations. This is simply natural progression." Her eyes flicked to Scarlett. "Some things are meant to be. Breeding, status, shared values. You understand, don't you, Miss Monroe?" "I understand perfectly." Scarlett met her gaze steadily. "Some people inherit their position. Others earn it." The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Eleanor's wineglass paused halfway to her lips. "How refreshingly blunt. Though I suppose that's what happens when one lacks proper upbringing. No one to teach the value of discretion." "Eleanor," Harold interjected weakly. "Perhaps we should—" No, Harold. Let the girl speak." Eleanor's smile was predatory. "I'm fascinated by this confidence. Tell me, Miss Monroe, do you truly believe that closing one contract makes you an equal in this room?" "I never claimed to be equal to anyone here." Scarlett set down her fork carefully. "I don't measure my worth by my last name or my trust fund. I measure it by what I accomplish." "How very democratic." Victoria laughed. "Grayson, isn't she adorable? Like a little fighter. So much effort to prove something that simply doesn't matter in our circles." Grayson's jaw clenched. "Victoria! I mean, surely you see it too, darling. She's clearly competent at her job. We're not disputing that. But there are levels to society, natural hierarchies." Victoria gestured dismissively. "A commercial manager is wonderful, but let's not pretend it makes her one of us." "And what exactly makes someone one of you?" Scarlett heard herself ask, her voice sharper than intended. "Money you didn't earn? A name you were born with? The ability to make others feel small, to make yourself feel big?" Dead silence. Eleanor's face flushed crimson. "How dare you?" She dares because she's right. Every head turned to Grayson. He stood slowly, his chair scraping against the floor. His eyes, those storm-gray eyes, blazed with something fierce and unexpected. Grayson Aldrich, Berkshire. "Sit down this instant," Eleanor hissed. No. He looked at his mother, then at Victoria, with an expression of such cold fury that even they flinched. "I've sat through this entire dinner watching you both tear apart someone who's done nothing but excel at her job. Someone who worked herself through college while you, Victoria, partied at Yale on your father's dime. Someone who closed a deal worth more than most people make in a lifetime while you were getting your third manicure this week." Victoria's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "How can you? We're supposed to nothing." Grayson's voice was ice. "Whatever arrangement our families cooked up was done without my consent. I never agreed to any announcement." Eleanor rose, trembling with rage. "We discussed this. The Ashford merger is crucial for your social climbing, for adding another branch to the family tree you're so obsessed with." Grayson shook his head. "I'm not a chess piece, Mother." "You're being ridiculous." Eleanor's voice rose shrilly. "Over some nobody. She has a name." Grayson turned to Scarlett, and the anger in his eyes softened into something else, something that made her heart skip. "And she's shown more grace and strength in this single dinner than anyone else at this table has shown in years." Scarlett couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process what was happening. Victoria stood abruptly, her chair clattering. "I will not be humiliated like this. Not for some red-headed gold digger who—" "Finish that sentence," Grayson said quietly, dangerously. "And your family's partnership with Berkshire Industries is over. Permanently." Victoria blanched. Harold looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Eleanor gripped the table edge, her knuckles white. "You're making a terrible mistake," Eleanor said through gritted teeth. "That woman will ruin everything we've built, everything you're meant to be." "Maybe I'm tired of being what I'm meant to be." Grayson extended his hand to Scarlett. "Miss Monroe, would you allow me to escort you out? I believe this dinner is over." Scarlett stared at his outstretched hand. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to avoid the chaos she'd somehow landed in the middle of. This was her boss's family. Her career was on the line. But then she looked at his eyes, really looked, and saw not the ice prince of Manhattan, but a man who'd just burned bridges for a stranger. For her. She took his hand. As they walked out of Le Ciel Bleu, leaving stunned silence and Eleanor's outraged sputtering behind them, Scarlett realized something terrifying. Her life would never be simple again. The night air hit Scarlett like a slap. She stood on the sidewalk outside Le Ciel Bleu, her hand still tingling from Grayson's touch, her mind racing to catch up with what had just happened. "I'm so sorry." The words tumbled out. "I shouldn't have. God, I just destroyed your family dinner. Your engagement announcement, There was no engagement." Grayson loosened his tie, and for the first time since she'd met him, he looked human. Tired. Frustrated. Real. "Victoria and my mother have been planning that fantasy for years. I never agreed to it." But she said, "Victoria says a lot of things." He ran a hand through his dark hair, messing up the perfect styling. "She's been told since birth that she'd marry a Berkshire, that our families would merge. It was convenient for everyone. Except me." Scarlett wrapped her arms around herself, the evening breeze cutting through her dress. "You just imploded your family relationships because of me. Someone you met an hour ago." "No." Grayson shrugged off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders before she could protest. "I imploded them because I was tired of being treated like a commodity. You just happened to be the catalyst." The jacket smelled like expensive cologne and something uniquely him. Scarlett tried not to notice how her heart raced. "Your mother will make my life hell. You know that, right? I'll probably be fired by morning." "You won't." Grayson's voice was firm. "My father controls hiring and promotions, not Eleanor. and Harold respects talent above all else. He won't punish you for my mother's behavior. You can't know that. I can, because if he tries, I'll make it very clear that losing you means losing me." His storm-gray eyes locked on hers. "And despite what you witnessed tonight, I'm actually quite valuable to Berkshire Industries." Scarlett laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. "This is insane. 24 hours ago, my biggest problem was affording groceries. Now I'm in the middle of some dynasty drama. Welcome to my world." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Though I have to say, you handled it better than most. Victoria once made a senator's daughter cry at a charity event. You held your ground. I shouldn't have provoked them. They provoked you first." Grayson moved closer, and Scarlett's breath caught. Every word out of their mouths was designed to make you feel inferior, to put you in your place, and you refused to go there. Is that why you defended me? Some kind of rebellious gesture against your mother? No. His voice dropped lower. I defended you because everything they said was wrong. Because watching you close that Midas deal was the most impressive thing I've seen in years. Because... He paused, something vulnerable flickering across his features. Because when you walked into that dining room tonight, you were the first real thing I'd seen in that space in my entire life. Scarlett's mouth went dry. Mr. Berkshire, Grayson. Grayson. His name felt strange on her tongue. Intimate. You don't know me. You don't know anything about me. I know you fought your way up from nothing. I know you're brilliant at your job. I know you didn't back down when two of Manhattan's most powerful women tried to crush you. He tilted his head. And I know that despite everything that just happened, you're worried about me, about the consequences I'll face. That says more than any biography could. A taxi honked nearby. Reality crashed back in. I should go. Scarlett started to remove his jacket, but he stopped her. Keep it. It's cold. His hand brushed hers, and electricity sparked between them. Can I? Would you let me take you home? Make sure you get there safely? That's really not. Please. The word was quiet, almost vulnerable. Let me do at least one thing right tonight. Against every rational thought screaming in her head, Scarlett nodded. 20 minutes later, they sat in the back of Grayson's town car, because of course he had a town car, in comfortable silence. Scarlett watched Manhattan blur past the window, hyper-aware of the man beside her. Can I ask you something? Grayson's voice broke the quiet. After tonight, I think you've earned that right. Why sales? With your mind, you could have gone into analytics, strategy, consulting, more prestigious, better pay. Scarlett considered the question. Because in sales, you win or you lose, clear metrics, no politics, no family connections, just results. You're either good enough or you're not. She glanced at him. I needed something where my background wouldn't matter, where I could prove myself on merit alone. And you have, repeatedly, from what I've seen in your file. You read my file? A slight smile. After you closed Midas, I read everything. Your track record is flawless. 5 years, 37 major deals, 100% close rate on qualified leads. That's not luck. That's talent. Warmth bloomed in her chest. Thank you. Don't thank me for stating facts. He turned to face her fully. Scarlett. May I call you Scarlett? She nodded, not trusting her voice. What happened tonight? It's going to get complicated. Eleanor doesn't forgive easily. Victoria will spin this into a scandal. There will be rumors, speculation. His expression grew serious. I meant what I said. You won't lose your job, but it might get uncomfortable. I've handled uncomfortable before. I know, but this is different. This is personal, and He hesitated, vulnerability flashing across his face again. I don't want you to suffer because of my choices. The car pulled up to her apartment building, shabby compared to the gleaming towers they'd passed. Scarlett felt a flush of embarrassment, but Grayson's expression didn't change. Thank you for the ride, and for Everything. Scarlett. He caught her hand as she reached for the door. This isn't over. Whatever my mother tries, whatever Victoria schemes, I won't let them hurt you. You have my word. Why? The question burst out. Why would you risk so much for someone you just met? Grayson's thumb traced a circle on her palm, and her pulse skyrocketed. Because, he said softly, in a life full of carefully arranged pieces and predetermined moves, you're the first choice that's ever felt like mine. Before she could process those words, he released her hand. Scarlett stumbled out of the car, clutching his jacket, her mind spinning. She watched the town car disappear into Manhattan traffic. Her phone buzzed. A text from Lily. "Call me right now." Below it, 17 missed calls. And below that, a news alert. Berkshire air storms out of dinner with mystery woman. Ashford engagement in jeopardy. Scarlett's stomach dropped. It had begun. Scarlett's phone wouldn't stop ringing. By 7 a.m. she'd counted 43 calls, 97 texts, and her name was trending on 3 different social media platforms. Mystery woman, Berkshire scandal, gold digger. That last one stung the most. "You need to see this." Lily thrust her laptop at Scarlett, who'd barely slept. The screen showed a gossip site with a grainy photo of her and Grayson leaving Le Ciel Bleu. The headline screamed, "Ice Prince melts for nobody. Grayson Berkshire ditches billion-dollar heiress for unknown employee." The article was worse. Sources close to the family report that Berkshire humiliated longtime companion Victoria Ashford by abandoning a formal dinner with mystery redhead Scarlett Monroe, 28, a recently promoted sales manager. Monroe, who comes from humble beginnings and attended public college, apparently caught the notoriously cold heir's attention. Victoria Ashford's representative declined to comment, but insiders suggest the Ashford family is devastated by the public slight. "They make me sound like a scheming seductress," Scarlett whispered. "Babe, you need to call in sick. Do not go to that office today." "I can't hide. That's exactly what they want." "They want to destroy you. Look at the comments." Scarlett made the mistake of scrolling. "Gold digger." "Social climber. Probably slept her way to that promotion. Know your place." Her hands shook. She'd fought so hard, worked so long, earned everything she had, and now strangers were tearing her apart based on one dinner. Her phone rang again. Unknown number. "Miss Monroe." The voice was crisp, female, unfamiliar. "This is Patricia Winters from the Manhattan Herald. I'd love to get your side of the story. What's your relationship with Grayson Berkshire? How long have you two been—" Scarlett hung up. Immediately, another call, another reporter. She turned off her phone. The Berkshire Industries lobby felt like walking into a firing squad. Conversations stopped as she passed. Eyes followed her. Whispers erupted in her wake. Margaret intercepted her before she reached her office. "Conference room. Now." Scarlett's stomach sank. Inside, Harold sat at the head of the table, alone. No Eleanor, thank God. But his expression was grave. "Sit, please." "Mr. Berkshire, I want to apologize." "For what?" Harold leaned back. "Attending a dinner you were invited to. Being subjected to appalling behavior from my wife and Victoria Ashford." Scarlett blinked. You know what happened?" "Grayson told me everything. Every word." Harold sighed heavily. "I owe you an apology, Miss Monroe. That dinner was meant to honor your achievement. Instead, it became a battlefield. That's inexcusable. The media is doing what media does, creating drama from nothing." He slid a folder across the table. "This is your official promotion paperwork. Commercial manager, as promised. Salary increase, corner office, full benefits. Nothing about last night changes that." Relief flooded through her. "Thank you." However, Harold's expression darkened. "I need to be honest with you. Eleanor is not pleased. She's calling in favors, spreading her version of events. Some board members are asking questions, suggesting that perhaps this situation is too distracting for the company. You're firing me. No. Harold's voice was firm. But I am warning you. Eleanor Berkshire is a formidable enemy. She will make things difficult. For you, for Grayson, possibly for this company. Are you prepared for that? Scarlett thought about the comments, the headlines, the whispers in the lobby. With respect, Mr. Berkshire, I've been fighting my entire life. I'm not stopping now. A smile tugged at Harold's lips. Good, because I need that Midas deal finalized, and you're the only one who can do it. Don't let Eleanor's theatrics distract you from what you do best. As Scarlett left his office, she felt marginally better, until she rounded the corner and nearly collided with a woman in Chanel, Victoria Ashford, in her office building. Miss Monroe, how convenient. Victoria's smile was venomous. I thought we should chat, woman to woman. I have work. This will only take a moment. Victoria stepped closer, her perfume overwhelming. You think you've won something, don't you? That Grayson's little display means anything? I don't think anything. I'm just trying to do my job. Your job. Victoria laughed coldly. Let me explain how this works. You're a novelty, a distraction. Grayson's rebelling against Eleanor, and you're the convenient tool. But it won't last. It never does. Are you trying to warn me or threaten me? Both. Victoria's eyes glittered. You don't belong in our world. You'll never be good enough, rich enough, connected enough. And eventually, Grayson will see that. He'll remember who he is, where he comes from, and you'll be exactly where you started, alone. Each word was designed to wound, and despite herself, Scarlett felt them hit. Are you finished? Almost. Victoria leaned in conspiratorially. I've already spoken with several board members, influential ones. They're concerned about the company's reputation, about employees who cause drama. It would be such a shame if your promotion was revoked, if future deals fell through because clients questioned your professionalism. You're threatening my career because I attended a dinner? I'm protecting what's mine. Victoria's mask slipped, revealing raw fury. Grayson is mine. He always has been. And I will destroy anyone who tries to take him. Miss Ashford. Both women spun. Grayson stood at the end of the hallway, his expression thunderous. You need to leave. Now. Victoria's face went pale. Darling, I was just threatening my employee, attempting to sabotage her career, trespassing in my family's building. Grayson's voice was ice. Security is on their way. I suggest you go willingly. You can't be serious. Try me. Victoria's composure cracked. You're going to regret this. Both of you. I promise you that. She stalked toward the elevator, fury radiating from every step. Silence fell. Grayson turned to Scarlett. Are you all right? I'm fine. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. He moved closer, concern etched in his features. What did she say to you? Nothing I haven't heard before. Scarlett, she said I don't belong in your world, that I'm a distraction, a phase. Scarlett met his eyes. Is she right? No. The word was immediate, fierce. She's terrified. That's why she's lashing out. Terrified of what? Grayson's hand lifted, almost touching her face, then dropped. Of losing something she never really had. Of change, of... He paused. Of the fact that for the first time in my life I'm choosing something for myself. Someone for myself. Scarlett's breath caught. Grayson, this is moving too fast. We barely know each other. The scandal, your family... I know. His voice softened. But I also know that I haven't stopped thinking about you since you walked into that dining room. That watching you stand up to Eleanor and Victoria was the most captivating thing I've ever witnessed. That every instinct I have is telling me not to let you walk away. What if Victoria's right? What if I'm just a rebellion? Then I want to rebel for the rest of my life. Before Scarlett could respond, her office phone rang, shrill and insistent, reality crashing back in. "I have work," she whispered. "So do I." But neither moved. "Dinner? Tonight? Somewhere private. Away from cameras and gossip. Is that wise? Probably not." A small smile. "But I'm tired of doing what's wise." Against all logic, Scarlett nodded. As Grayson walked away, she leaned against the wall, her heart racing. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Enjoy it while it lasts. He'll tire of you. They always do. E.B. Eleanor." The battle lines were drawn. The restaurant was nothing like Le Ciel Bleu. Tucked away in Brooklyn, no tabloids, no society pages, just worn wooden tables and the smell of garlic and wine. Grayson looked oddly out of place in his expensive suit, and somehow perfectly right. "How did you find this place?" Scarlett asked as they settled into a corner booth. "I didn't. You did." He gestured to the window. "This is 3 blocks from your apartment. I figured you'd know the good spots." Something warm bloomed in her chest. "You could have chosen anywhere in Manhattan. I chose somewhere you'd be comfortable. Somewhere we could actually talk without performing for cameras." His eyes held hers. "Was I wrong?" "No." She smiled. "This is perfect." They ordered simple pasta, house wine, and for the first time since that disastrous dinner, Scarlett felt like she could breathe. "Tell me something real," Grayson said suddenly. "Real? Something not in your employee file. Something you've never told anyone in a business meeting." He leaned forward. "I want to know you. The actual you." Scarlett took a sip of wine, considering. "I'm terrified of failure. Not regular failure. Everyone fails sometimes. I mean the kind that proves everyone right. That I didn't belong in that boardroom, that college, that promotion. The kind that says I should have stayed in my lane. That's not failure. That's other people's limitations." "Easy to say when you've never had to prove yourself. You think I haven't?" Grayson's laugh was bitter. "I've spent 32 years being Grayson Berkshire, heir apparent. Everything I've accomplished gets attributed to my last name. Every success dismissed as nepotism. I could cure cancer, and people would say I bought the research team." Scarlett blinked. She'd never considered that perspective. "I took over the international division 3 years ago," he continued. "Grew revenue by 40%. Know what the board said? Of course he did well. Harold gave him the easy market. When I suggested the Midas acquisition, they called it reckless, until you closed it. Then suddenly it was genius strategy. That's why you read my file," Scarlett realized. "You wanted to know if I was real or just another name-dropper. And you're the most real thing I've found in years." His hand crossed the table, fingers brushing hers. "Your turn. Ask me something." "Why did you really defend me? At that dinner?" Grayson was quiet for a moment. "Because I saw myself. Not the me everyone expects, the ice prince, the perfect heir, but the me I used to be before I learned to freeze everything out. You were fighting, refusing to be diminished, and I remembered what that felt like. Before I became this." "I like this," Scarlett said softly. "The man sitting across from me right now. Most people don't. They prefer the performance. I'm not most people." "No." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "You're absolutely not." Their food arrived, and the conversation flowed easier. He told her about growing up in a mansion but feeling completely alone. She told him about her parents, their sudden car accident, the debt that followed. He asked about her favorite books. She asked about his dreams beyond Berkshire Industries. "Architecture," he admitted, almost shyly. "I wanted to design buildings. Create something that would last beyond quarterly reports and stock prices." "What stopped you?" "Eleanor. The family legacy. The weight of expectation." He paused. "Fear, if I'm honest. It's not too late." "Isn't it? I'm 32, trapped in a company, with a mother who's currently plotting my future, and probably your demise." As if summoned, Scarlett's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and froze. What is it? She turned the screen toward him. An email from the Midas Corporation. Subject line: reconsidering partnership terms. Grayson's jaw tightened as he read. Eleanor got to them. They're worried about instability in Berkshire leadership and concerns about company focus. This is code for my mother telling Richard Midas that I'm distracted by an inappropriate relationship and questioning my judgment. Grayson's voice was cold fury. She's sabotaging the deal you worked for. She's sabotaging you through me. I won't let her do this. Grayson. Scarlett pulled her hand back. Maybe Victoria was right. Maybe I am a distraction. This deal is worth $15 million. Your company's reputation. Stop. He stood abruptly, moved to her side of the booth, sliding in beside her. Close enough that she could feel his warmth. Listen to me. Eleanor is counting on you to walk away, to decide you're not worth the trouble. That's her strategy. What if she's right? She's not. He tilted her chin up, forcing her to meet his eyes. You closed an impossible deal through sheer brilliance. Eleanor's undermining it because she's desperate, because she knows if you and I succeed, together, her control evaporates. This isn't just about us anymore. It's your career, your family. Then let me choose. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. For once in my life, let me choose what I want, not what's expected, not what's convenient, what I actually want. And what's that? You. The word hung between them, heavy with meaning. I want you. This thing between us, whatever it is, I want to see where it goes, no matter what Eleanor throws at us. Scarlett's heart hammered against her ribs. This is crazy. Probably. We could both lose everything. Or we could win everything. His hand cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheek. I'm tired of playing it safe, of doing what I'm told, of being who they want me to be. You make me want to fight, to choose, to be real. Grayson. He kissed her. Soft at first, tentative, asking permission. Then deeper as she responded, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. The restaurant faded away. The scandal, Eleanor, Victoria, none of it mattered in that moment. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, reality crashed back. I should take you home, Grayson murmured against her forehead. Probably. Neither moved. Scarlett's phone buzzed again, then again, and again. She grabbed it, her stomach dropping as she read. News alerts, all from the last 15 minutes. Eleanor Berkshire speaks out. Family values under attack. Berkshire Industries stock drops 3% amid heirs scandal. Victoria Ashford's father threatens to pull $50 million investment, and worst of all, trending on social media. Fire Scarlett. She's destroying us, Scarlett whispered. Grayson took the phone, scrolled through the headlines, his expression darkening with each one. No. He stood, pulling her up with him. She's overplaying her hand. Making this so public that when we fight back, everyone will be watching. Fight back how? A dangerous smile crossed his face. By giving them something real to talk about. By showing them you're not some scandal. You're the future of Berkshire Industries. He pulled out his own phone, typed rapidly. The Palmer Foundation Gala is in 3 days. It's where Eleanor and Victoria plan to announce our engagement. Grayson, I can't go there. You can, as my official date. In front of every major player in New York society. His eyes blazed with determination. We stop hiding, stop apologizing. We show them exactly who you are and dare them to dismiss you. That's insane. They'll tear me apart. They're already trying to. At least this way, you fight back on your terms. He squeezed her hands. I know it's a lot to ask, but I'm asking anyway. Stand with me. Let's face them together. Scarlett looked at this man who'd upended his entire life in a matter of days. For her, because of her, with her. She was either about to make the best decision of her life or the worst. "Okay," she breathed. "Let's go to war." "Breathe. You need to breathe." Lily adjusted the emerald green gown they'd found, not bought. Scarlett couldn't afford it. Borrowed from a designer friend of a friend who owed Lily a favor. It hugged every curve, elegant and bold. Her red hair cascaded in waves over bare shoulders. "I look like I'm trying too hard." Scarlett stared at her reflection. "You look like someone who belongs." Lily squeezed her shoulders. "Remember that." The town car arrived at 7 sharp. Grayson stepped out, and Scarlett's breath caught. Tuxedo, perfectly tailored, but it was the look in his eyes when he saw her that made her knees weak. "You're stunning." "I'm terrified." "Good." He offered his arm. "So am I. Let's be terrified together." The Palmer Foundation Gala was held at the Metropolitan Museum. As their car pulled up, flashbulbs exploded. Photographers shouted questions. Scarlett heard her name mixed with accusations, curiosity, judgment. "Ready?" Grayson's hand tightened on hers. "No. Let's go anyway." They stepped out together, and the world erupted. The museum's great hall glittered with Manhattan's elite. Every head turned as they entered. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Scarlett felt 1,000 eyes dissecting her dress, her hair, her right to be there. "There's my mother," Grayson murmured, "at 3 o'clock. "Don't look yet." Eleanor stood surrounded by society matrons, her expression carved from ice. Victoria was at her side, resplendent in white, a deliberate choice, Scarlett realized. Bridal, claiming. "Grayson, darling," an older woman intercepted them, all diamonds and false warmth. "What a surprise to see you here with company. Mrs. Hartford, may I introduce Scarlett Monroe, our new commercial manager and the woman who closed the Midas deal." "How industrious." Mrs. Hartford's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Though I heard there were some complications with that deal. Something about concerns over nothing," came a new voice. Harold Berkshire appeared, solid and commanding. "The Midas deal is solid. In fact, Richard confirmed final terms this afternoon. Miss Monroe's work was flawless." Scarlett's eyes widened. "He did?" "Called me personally. Said Eleanor's interference reminded him why he doesn't do business with manipulators." Harold smiled grimly. "You won, Miss Monroe. The deal stands." Eleanor materialized like a storm cloud. "Harold, we need to speak. Privately." "No." Harold's voice carried authority. "Whatever you have to say, you can say here. You're embarrassing this family. You're embarrassing yourself." Harold's eyes were hard. "I've tolerated your social climbing, your arranged marriage schemes, your treatment of my employees. No more. Miss Monroe earned her position. My son chose his own path. You will accept both, or you and I will have a very different conversation." Eleanor's face went white, then red. "How dare you?" "Excuse me." A new voice cut through the tension. Victoria stepped forward, and Scarlett braced for impact. But Victoria's expression was strange, defeated. "I need to say something." "Victoria, don't," Eleanor hissed. "I'm tired, Eleanor." Victoria's voice shook. "I'm tired of pretending, of fighting for something that was never real." She turned to Grayson. "You never loved me. I knew that. I've always known. But I convinced myself that duty was enough, that our family's expectations mattered more than—" She swallowed hard. "Than actually being happy." "Victoria," Grayson started, but she held up a hand. "Let me finish. I've spent my entire life being told what I should want, who I should be, what marriage I should have." Her eyes found Scarlett's. "I was cruel to you, vicious, because you represented everything I was too afraid to reach for. Choice, authenticity, love." The crowd pressed closer, sensing drama. "I'm sorry," Victoria continued, "to both of you, for the threats, The manipulation, the ugliness. You deserve better, and I— Tears welled in her eyes. I deserve the chance to find out who I actually am. Without Eleanor's script. She turned and walked away, leaving stunned silence. Eleanor's composure cracked. You ungrateful! This family gave you everything, and you— She whirled on Scarlett. You destroyed everything. My son's future, our alliances, your control. Scarlett's voice rang clear. That's what you really lost. The ability to dictate your son's life, to treat people as chess pieces. She stepped forward. I didn't come from money. I don't have a pedigree or connections, but I earned everything I have, and I won't apologize for that. Not to you, not to anyone. You're nothing, Eleanor spat. A temporary distraction. She's the woman I love. Silence. Complete, utter silence. Grayson's voice echoed through the great hall. Scarlett Monroe is the woman I love. She's brilliant, strong, real, and she makes me want to be better than the role you've written for me. He faced the crowd, the cameras, the judgment. I'm done apologizing for choosing happiness over obligation, for wanting a partner instead of an arrangement. If that offends your sensibilities, there's the door. Eleanor swayed, her face contorting. You'll regret this. Both of you. Enough, Eleanor. Harold's voice was steel. You have a choice. Accept that our son is an adult who makes his own decisions, or leave. Tonight. Permanently. You wouldn't— Try me. Mother and son stared at each other. 30 years of conflict, control, and ultimatums hung in the balance. Eleanor grabbed her purse. You'll crawl back. When she shows her true colors, when the novelty wears off, when reality sets in, you'll realize what you've lost. She swept out, a few loyal followers trailing behind. The crowd erupted in whispers. Scarlett felt dizzy, overwhelmed. It was too much, too public, too— Dance with me. Grayson extended his hand. The orchestra, reading the room perfectly, began a waltz. Everyone's watching, Scarlett whispered. Good. He pulled her close. Let them watch. They danced, and slowly the whispers changed, from scandal to romance, from judgment to curiosity. Scarlett saw faces in the crowd, some still skeptical, others smiling. Mrs. Hartford wiped her eyes. Did you mean it? Scarlett asked as they turned. What you said? Every word. His hand tightened on her waist. I love you, Scarlett Monroe. I probably have since you stood up to Eleanor at that disastrous dinner. Maybe even since I read about how you closed Midas. You're everything I didn't know I needed. I love you too, she breathed. Even though you're insane and dramatic and just publicly declared war on your mother. He kissed her. Right there, in front of Manhattan's elite, cameras flashing, gossip igniting. When they pulled apart, the room erupted in applause. Well, Harold appeared beside them, grinning. That's one way to make a statement. The press will have a field day. Let them, Grayson said, never taking his eyes off Scarlett. We've got nothing to hide. As they left the gala hand in hand, Scarlett's phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. You won this round. Enjoy it. EB. And below it, a news alert. Berkshire heir declares love at gala. Modern fairy tale or scandal. You decide. Scarlett looked up at Grayson, this impossible man who'd turned her world upside down. What happens now? He smiled. Now, we write our own ending. 6 months later, Scarlett stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows of her new corner office, actually hers now, earned through 6 months of flawless deal closings and a promotion to VP of Commercial Strategy. Manhattan sprawled below, no longer intimidating, but full of possibility. Penny, for your thoughts? She turned to find Grayson leaning against the doorframe, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up. Still made her heart skip. Just thinking about how different everything is. Good different or terrifying different? Both, she crossed to him. The board meeting tomorrow. Your proposal for the architectural division. Are you ready? After the gala, Grayson had done something unexpected. He'd stepped back, not from Berkshire Industries, but from the predetermined path. He'd spent 6 months developing a proposal for a new division, Berkshire Design, that would merge architecture with sustainable development. His passion project. His choice. Terrified, he admitted. But Harold's on board. The numbers are solid. And I have a secret weapon. What's that? You, sitting in that meeting, reminding me that taking risks is worth it. A knock interrupted them. Margaret appeared, smiling, something she did more often now. Miss Monroe, Mr. Richard Midas is here. Says he has a proposition. Richard Midas strode in, confident as ever. Scarlett, Grayson, I'll be brief. The Midas Corporation is expanding. We need someone to head our new partnerships division. He looked directly at Scarlett. We want you. Scarlett's breath caught. I'm flattered, but before you answer, know this. Double your current salary, full executive benefits, complete autonomy. Richard smiled. You'd be the youngest C-suite executive in our company's history. It was everything she'd dreamed of. Security, recognition, proof she'd made it. Can I think about it? Take your time, but not too much. We're moving fast. Richard shook their hands and left. Silence filled the office. That's an incredible offer, Grayson said carefully. It is. You should take it. Scarlett studied his face. You want me to leave? No. He moved closer. But I want you to choose. Not because of me, not despite me. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. Here, Midas, wherever. He cupped her face. I love you for who you are, not where you work. What if I said I want to stay, that I'm building something here that matters? Then I'd say you're exactly where you belong. She kissed him, deep and sure. I'm staying. Not because of you, though you're a factor. Because I've invested 6 months turning this division into something extraordinary. I'm not walking away from that. You're sure? Completely. Besides, she grinned, someone needs to make sure your architectural division doesn't tank the company. The board meeting the next day was brutal. 3 hours of questions, skepticism, challenges. But when the vote came, it was unanimous. Berkshire Design was approved. Harold clapped Grayson on the shoulder. Proud of you, son, for fighting for what you want. That evening, Grayson took Scarlett to the Brooklyn restaurant where everything had changed. Why here? She asked. Because this is where we started, where you let me be real. He reached across the table, taking her hand. Scarlett Monroe, these 6 months have been the best of my life. You challenge me, support me, call me out when I'm being an idiot. Which is often. You've taught me that choosing myself isn't selfish, that love isn't a transaction. He slid from his seat, and Scarlett's heart stopped as he knelt. So I'm choosing. Again. Forever, if you'll let me. He opened a small velvet box. Inside, an emerald-cut diamond. Elegant, unique, perfect. Marry me. Not because our families arranged it. Not because it makes sense on paper. Marry me because when I look at the future, I can't imagine it without you. Tears streamed down Scarlett's face. Yes. God, yes. The restaurant erupted in applause. Apparently, they'd had an audience. Grayson slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her as if they were the only 2 people in the world. 1 year later, the wedding was small, intimate. 50 guests in a garden ceremony. Nothing like the society spectacle Eleanor would have demanded. Victoria attended, now running a non-profit, and engaged to a philosophy professor. She hugged Scarlett tightly. Thank you, for showing me it's okay to choose differently. Eleanor hadn't come, but 3 months ago she'd sent a brief note. Perhaps I was wrong. Perhaps you're exactly what he needed. E.B. It wasn't an apology, but it was something. Scarlett Monroe Berkshire, still getting used to that, stood with her husband on the balcony of their new apartment. Not a mansion, not a penthouse, but theirs. Regrets? Grayson asked. only that we didn't do this sooner. I'm serious. She turned to face him. Do you know what I regret? That I ever doubted I deserved this. Happiness, love, success on my own terms. You taught me that deserving isn't about where you come from. It's about who you choose to be. You taught me that choosing is brave, that authentic is better than perfect. Below, Manhattan glittered with infinite possibility. Scarlett thought about that terrified girl who'd walked into Le Ciel Bleu, sure she didn't belong. Who'd fought Eleanor's cruelty, Victoria's threats, and her own doubts. She'd earned every inch of ground she stood on. The VP title, the respect, the love. Not despite her background, but because of it. Because fighting made her strong. Because choosing made her free. What are you thinking? Grayson murmured. That I'd do it all again. Every awful dinner, every scandal, every battle. Even Eleanor. Especially Eleanor. She tried to break me and accidentally helped me find myself. Scarlett smiled. Plus, without that disastrous dinner, you wouldn't have gone full romantic hero. I made a reasonable choice based on obvious compatibility. You stormed out of a formal dinner, declared war on your mother, and publicly announced your love at a gala. Like I said, reasonable. She laughed, kissing him as the city lights sparkled below. Two people from different worlds who'd chosen each other, who'd faced society, scandal, and expectations, and won. Not because it was easy, because it was real. And in the end, that was all that mattered. Trianti Hampao,